On a Thursday last October, half of Maple Street watched me push a screaming 6-year-old into the back of my car while she fought me the whole way, and not one of them came to help her. They didn't help because they thought they were helping. By the time I pulled out of the laundromat lot, 2 people had already called the sheriff to report a kidnapping. I don't blame them. I want you to understand that from the very start. If you had seen what they saw, an old woman nobody in town had ever trusted, hauling a shrieking little girl into a car, you would have called too. But not one person on that street knew the child's name. And in 30 years, not one of them had ever once bothered to learn mine. My name is Eleanor Brisco. People in this town call me a good many things. Before that Thursday was over, they would add a few more. Stay with me. I'll tell you everything that happened that day and everything they couldn't see. Before we go on with Nell's story, if these quiet stories mean something to you, take a moment to subscribe and leave a like. And in the comments, tell me where you're listening from tonight. Wherever you are, I hope this light finds you warm. I am 68 years old, and I live alone in a house far too big for one person, out at the end of Route 9 where the streetlights give up. People call it the Brisco place, and they don't mean it kindly. It's the big gray house with the wraparound porch and too many windows. The one mothers used to point at from the car and tell their children to hush. I've heard all of it over the years. That I'm strange. That I keep to myself because I've got something to hide. That a woman my age with no husband and a house full of other people's children must be running some kind of racket. I never corrected any of it. I learned a long time ago that explaining yourself to people who've already decided is just one more way to hand them your time. And my time was never my own to give. For 3 decades, the state of this county has called me when there was a child and nowhere to put them. 2 in the morning, a holiday, the middle of an ice storm, it never mattered. 81 children have slept under my roof since the first one, and every single one of them came to me the same way, frightened, and certain they had done something to deserve it. The one who handled my case for the last 15 years is a woman named Diane Okafor. She is the closest thing I have to a friend, though we have never once shared a meal that wasn't interrupted by a crisis. It was Diane who called me on the first cold Wednesday in October. I knew it was bad before she said a word, because she started the way she always did when it was bad.
Nell, I'm sorry. I know what time it is.
It was always late when Diane called. That was the whole shape of our friendship. I sat up and reached for the lamp. Just tell me, Diane.
Little girl, 6 years old. We took her out of a house tonight, and it was bad. I'm not going to dress it up for you. She hasn't said one word to anybody. Won't let a soul put a hand on her. We tried the Mercers, we tried the group placement in Calder, and she came apart at both.
Does she have a name?
Lily. Her name's Lily. There was a long breath on the line. Nell, I've got no place gentle to put her. And I keep thinking, you're the only one who's never once handed one of them back.
I was already pulling the quilt off the spare bed with the phone tucked against my shoulder. Bring her.
I was hoping you'd say that. We'll be there inside the hour. And Nell, thank you. I mean it.
Don't thank me yet. Just drive safe and bring me that child. She came through my door at 11:30 holding a trash bag with everything she owned in it, which wasn't much. And she would not look at me, and she would not speak. I didn't make her. The worst thing you can do for a child like that is need something from them. So I set a bowl of buttered noodles on the table, and I sat across the room with my back turned, pretending to fold towels. And after a long while, I heard the chair scrape, and I heard the spoon, and I did not turn around. That's how it starts. Every time. Not with words. With a meal, and a turned back, and the slow understanding that for once, nothing is being asked of them. But here is the thing I need you to know about that October, because it changes everything that came after. I was running out of time. The same week, Lily came to me. A man named Grant Decker had a letter delivered to my porch by a courier in a clean white truck. Decker Development had bought up most of the land along Route 9. And my house sat in the middle of all of it, like a stubborn gray tooth. And Mr. Decker wanted it gone. The letter was very polite. It said my property had been rezoned, that the structure was non-conforming, and that I had until the end of the month to vacate so the parcel could be cleared. 30 days. To empty a house that had held 81 children, and to find somewhere, anywhere, that the state would still let me take in one more. I didn't tell Diane. I didn't tell anyone. I folded the letter into the drawer with all the others, and kept going, as if going were still a choice. So when Lily arrived, I was a woman with 30 days left, hiding a child who couldn't speak, in a house a rich man had already decided to knock down. Lily came everywhere with me, not because the rules required it, but because in those first weeks, a child like Lily cannot be left with anyone, not even kindly. Being handed off is the exact thing that broke her, and I would not be one more set of hands that passed her along. So on Thursdays, she came to the laundromat. And I want to tell you about Thursdays, because the whole town built its case against me out of Thursdays. My old washer gave out years ago, and I never replaced it. So once a week, I have loaded my baskets into the car and driven to the Maple Street Wash and run 6 machines at once. The folks on Maple Street saw that old woman every Thursday with her endless baskets of small clothes, sizes that changed from month to month, clothes that clearly belonged to children no one ever saw, and they drew the conclusion that suited them. Only one person at that laundromat ever spoke to me like a human being. A retired trucker named Sam Whitfield, who came in every Thursday to wash 1 load of work shirts and rate his paper, and who had taken, over the years, to nodding at me. Just a nod. You'd be surprised how far a nod can carry a person. The Thursday it all came apart. Lily had been with me 8 days. 8 days is nothing, and 8 days is everything with a child like that. That morning, for the first time, she had let me hold her hand crossing the parking lot, and I tell you, my whole chest had ached with the size of that small thing. She still hadn't spoken, but she carried that stuffed rabbit in plain daylight now, which meant she had decided it was safe enough to be seen loving something. We were 40 minutes into the wash. Lily was on the bench by the window with the rabbit, and I was at the folding table with my back to the door, the way I always stand. And a young mother came in with a baby on her hip, and she made the mistake that undid us all. She meant nothing by it. She crouched down in front of Lily and reached out to touch the rabbit.
Well, aren't you just a sweetheart? And who's this little fella? Where's your mama? Honey? Is your mama here?
Lily came apart. I have to tell you about the 4 minutes that followed exactly as they happened, because every person who watched took a piece of it and built it into something it was not. First, Lily screamed, not a tantrum, but a sound that comes from underneath the words a person has, the sound of every hand that ever grabbed her in the dark. The whole laundromat turned. The young mother stumbled backward off her heels.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I didn't. Baby. It's okay. It's okay.
She scrambled off that bench and backed into the corner by the dryers, knocking a basket over. I came around the table with my hands already open and low. Lily. Lily. It's me. Nobody's going to touch you. I'm right here. Baby, I'm not going anywhere. But a man by the door was already on his feet.
Hey, lady. Is that your kid? Because that don't look like your kid.
She's in my care. Please just give her room. She's frightened. You're all frightening her.
Frightened of what? Of you?
And then the thing happened that hanged me. When I crouched and held out my arms, Lily ran to me. She wrapped both arms around my neck and held on for her life. And to the room, it looked like I had grabbed a child who'd been trying to get away. The young mother pulled her baby in tight. A second woman by the machines had her phone up.
I'm calling. I don't care. Somebody's got to call somebody. That is not right. Look at her.
Ma'am, put the kid down. Put her down and step back. Right now.
I did not put her down. A child in that state cannot be soothed in a bright, loud room full of strangers staring at her. She needed the car, the quiet, the dark, the only safe place she had left, which was wherever I was. So I carried her out across that lot while she screamed and kicked, because every step was taking her towards safety, even though every step looked like the opposite. By the time I got her buckled into the back seat, 3 people stood in the doorway with their phones out, and 2 were already talking to a dispatcher. I did not speed away. I want that on the record. I sat in that lot 10 full minutes with the engine off, in the back seat beside her, until the screaming wore down to hiccups and her small fists came loose from my collar, and she finally went limp against me, asleep the way only an exhausted child can sleep. And it was while she slept on my shoulder that Deputy Ray Marsh tapped on my window, 2 cruisers behind him, his hand resting on his belt.
Mrs. Brisco, I'm gonna need you to step out of the vehicle for me.
She's asleep, I whispered. Deputy, please, she's only just gone to sleep. If you take her out of this car, she is going to come apart all over again. And you don't understand what that costs a child like.
Ma'am, I hear you. But I've got 3 people on that sidewalk who say they watched a child fighting to get away from you. I've got a little girl with scratch marks on her arms. I have to do this the right way. And the right way means you step out of the car. Please, don't make me ask you twice.
He had a younger deputy with him, a boy I didn't know, and it was the boy who opened the back door and reached for Lily.
Come on, sweetheart. Come on. You're okay. Let's go.
She woke and began screaming all over again, screaming for me now, reaching back over his shoulder with both arms. And they wrote that down too. Except they wrote it as a child, desperate to get to her abductor. They put me in the back of a cruiser. 68 years old, and I had never sat behind that glass in my life. And through the window, I watched them carry Lily away, undoing in 4 minutes what had taken me 8 days to build. And I could not say one word that would have made it better, because every true thing I had to say sounded exactly like the lie of a guilty woman. They held me for 6 hours. I told them, plainly, who I was. I told them to call Diane Okafor at the county. I told them the child was a foster placement made 9 days earlier, and that there were papers. That there were always papers. But it was a Thursday evening. The county office was closed. And the younger deputy looked at me the way the whole town had looked at me for 30 years.
Ma'am, here's the thing I keep coming back to. A normal grandma. Somebody calls the cops on her at a laundromat. First thing out of her mouth is the kid's whole life story. You haven't said hardly anything.
Because everything true I could tell you would sound like exactly what you've already decided I am. I've been on the wrong end of that look my whole life. Son, I know better than to feed it. He didn't have an answer for that. He just wrote something down. Around midnight, Sam Whitfield, of all people, came down to that station. The retired trucker. He'd been at the laundromat. He stood at the front desk with his ball cap crushed in both hands, and he would not leave until somebody listened.
I saw the whole thing, start to finish. And I'm telling you that you've got it backwards. That little girl didn't run from her. She ran to her. Grabbed hold of that woman like she was the last solid thing left in the world.
Sir, witnesses are saying...
Witnesses are saying what it looked like. I drove a truck 40 years. I have seen scared, and I have seen dangerous and son. They don't look one thing alike. Anybody who's ever once sat up with a frightened child would know the difference. That woman in there is the difference. You go on and write that down too.
They thanked him and sent him home. But I have never forgotten that he came. A man who knew me only by a nod. And he was the one person in that town who stood up in a lit room and said, "I don't think this is what it looks like." Diane arrived at 7 the next morning, and she set a folder down on the table in that holding room hard enough to make the young deputy jump.
Everything you need is in there. 31 years of it. Licenses, placements, commendations. Now somebody's going to sit down with me, and I am going to tell you exactly who it is you kept in a cell overnight.
And the truth came out the way the truth usually does. Too late to stop the damage, but in time to keep it from being permanent. I want you to hear what was in that folder, because it is the part of me I had spent 30 years not explaining to anyone. Diane told them I had been a licensed emergency foster placement for the county for 31 years. That I was the one they called when no one else would take a child. The violent ones. The silent ones. The ones who'd been moved so many times they'd stopped unpacking the bag. And then, because they needed to understand why, she told them the rest. The part one never tell. That I had grown up in this very system. That my mother died when I was 7, and between 7 and 17, I lived in 11 different houses, and not one of them ever once decided to keep me. And the last thing, the thing that turned that holding room quiet, that I had a son once. His name was Caleb. I married young, had him at 28, and lost him at 8 years old to a leukemia that took 11 months and everything I had. That my husband left inside the year, the way grief sometimes empties a house from both ends at once. And that I had a great gray house, suddenly silent, with a child-sized hole torn through the middle of it. So I called the county and asked them to send me the children that nobody else would keep. The ones who screamed, the ones who ran the wrong way, the ones who looked to a room full of strangers like trouble. Because I had been one of them. And I had needed my whole life for one single person to look at a child who seemed like trouble and see, instead, a child who was simply terrified. I never told the town any of this. It was never theirs to know. But I'm telling you, because you stayed. They let me go that morning. Deputy Marsh walked me out himself, and he could not look at me.
I'm sorry, Nell. For all of it, I was doing my job, but I should have known you. 30 years in this town, and I never once knew your name.
You knew the story the town told about me. That's not the same as knowing me. Don't carry it. Ray, you did what the room made you do. They all did. Sorry doesn't put a child back in your arms, though. There is a process when a placement gets disrupted by an allegation, and the process does not care that the allegation was made of fear and bad light. Lily was moved to an emergency shelter across the county while the matter was quote, reviewed. She stopped eating. They told Diane she had stopped speaking again, gone all the way back to that first silent night, and farther. And I sat in my big gray house, with 22 days left on Grant Decker's letter, and for the first time in 30 years, I wondered if the kindest thing I had ever done was the very thing that had gotten her passed along anyway. I won't pretend I fixed it by myself. I have never fixed a single hard thing in my life by myself. It was Sam Whitfield who started it. He was so bothered by what he'd seen that he did the thing retired truckers apparently do, which is talk to absolutely everyone. He told it at the diner one morning to a counter full of men who'd known me only as the Brisco woman.
Come on, Sam. House full of kids nobody ever sees. Out at the end of Route 9? You don't think that's a little...
I think you've been saying that for 20 years, and not one of you ever once drove out there to find out. I did better than that. I stood in a parking lot and I watched a terrified child choose that woman over every other adult in the room. You want to tell me what you think that means?
I didn't know.
No. Nobody did. That's the whole problem. Isn't it?
And a strange thing happened, the way it does in a small place once the truth gets a running start. People started to remember. A nurse named Renee Coleman heard the name Eleanor Brisco and went very still, because 30 years ago, she had been a 13-year-old who arrived at my door in a squad car with a black eye and a chip of ice where her heart should have been, and she had stayed 4 years. A fireman named Tomas Reyes heard it too. He'd come to me at 9, the angriest child I ever took, and left at 18 for the Army. They had scattered my 81 across the county, across the country. But Sam Whitfield's story moved the way stories move now. And within a week, it found them, and they began one at a time, and then in a flood, to do the single thing I had never once asked any of them for. They came back. The County Foster Review Board ordinarily meets in a room the size of a closet, because ordinarily nobody comes. The morning they reviewed my fitness to ever again take a child, they had to move it to the high school auditorium, because 31 of my children were there. The board chair, a tired man in a gray suit who had clearly expected to be home by 10, kept trying to keep order.
I'll remind everyone this is an administrative review, not a yes. You wanted to speak. Name for the record, please.
A fireman stood up first. He is built like a door now, and he had to stop twice to keep his voice steady.
Tomas Reyes. I came to that woman at 9 years old, wanting to burn the whole world down. She let me be angry in her house for 2 years and was never once afraid of me. You know what that does for a boy who has only ever been the thing people are scared of? She is the reason I run into burning buildings now instead of setting them. You want to know if she's fit to keep a child? Write this in your file. There is a whole town that is safer because she kept me.
Thank you. Sir, if you could, there's a line. Ma'am, you in the scrubs. You've had your hand up.
A high school teacher spoke. Then a mechanic who'd driven through the night from 2 states over. Then a young woman with a baby on her hip, and I knew her at once, because she had once been the silent girl in the corner by my dryers. 18 years ago, who took 4 months to say my name.
I teach 3rd grade now. Every single morning, I set out a snack for the kid who comes in with nothing, and I turn my back so they can eat without being watched. I never told to anyone where I learned that. I learned it from her.
I was the quiet one. The one who flinched. I have a daughter now, and when she has a nightmare, I do exactly what Miss Nell did for me. I leave the door open and the light on, and I let her come to me. So when these people tell you what they think they saw in that parking lot, I'm telling you I have been that child. And the only thing that woman has ever done is be the one who didn't let go.
A nurse named Renee Coleman asked to go last. She is a grown woman now, calm and certain, the kind of person you'd want in the room on the worst night of your life. She stood at the microphone and she did not look at the board at all. She looked at me.
I came to this woman at 13. I'd been in 4 homes in 2 years, and I had learned that the trick was to be unlovable on purpose, so it wouldn't surprise me when they sent me back. I was very good at it. I dared her, every day, to give up on me. She never raised her voice. She never once told me I was lucky to be there. She just kept setting a place at the table, every night, like it had never been a question, until one day I understood she was never going to be the one to send me back. That was the day I started becoming a person. I am alive because no one came and carried me out of a parking lot on the day I was the one who looked like trouble. So before this board decides what it saw that Thursday, ask yourselves which of us in this room you would be, if she hadn't been there for the rest of us.
The room was very quiet after that. I sat in the front row and I listened to 30 years of my life stand up and speak. And I will tell you honestly, I had not known. You don't know when you're in it. You're just answering the phone at 2 in the morning. You're just running 6 machines on a Thursday. You don't get to see what it added up to. They saw. The board saw. The town, packed into the back of that auditorium, finally saw.
I think we've heard enough for the record. The allegation is dismissed. And for whatever it's worth from a folding table in a high school gym, Mrs. Brisco, on behalf of this county, I am sorry.
Lily was returned to me within the week, and she has not, knock wood, stopped speaking since, though it took her a long while to start. That leaves Grant Decker and his 30-day letter, and I'll tell you how that ended, because it is not the way you'd think. Mr. Decker did not have a change of heart. Men like Mr. Decker rarely do. But it turns out a great many of my 81 had grown up into the sort of people a town listens to. The nurse, the fireman, the teacher, 2 lawyers I'd forgotten I'd raised, and a rezoning quietly pushed through a county board looks very different once a packed auditorium knows your name. The house on Route 9 was declared a historic placement site. The road got widened around it instead of through it. Mr. Decker built his development on the far side of the creek, and as far as I know, he has never once spoken my name. And that suits us both. The gray house still stands. It is still too big for one person. It has never, thank God, had to be. It's spring now. Lily is 7. She talks more than enough for the both of us. And she has decided she is going to be a nurse like Renee, which changes by the season and which I encourage entirely. On the 2nd Saturday of every month, more of my children come back than the table can hold, and we eat in shifts on the porch. And the noise of it carries clear down Route 9 to the very streetlights that used to give up before they reached us. Sam Whitfield comes too. Now, he brings his paper. He still mostly just nods. It is still, I find, more than enough. And on the slow nights, when the phone rings late, it is still Diane.
Nell, I've got 1. Can you take 1 more tonight?
I always can, Diane. You know that. Bring me that child. I set a bowl of something warm on the table. I turn my back, and I fold the towels, and I let a frightened child understand that nothing is being asked of them. And then I leave the porch light on, all night, every night, the way I have for 30 years. Because somewhere out there is a child being carried through a dark parking lot, screaming, looking for all the world like trouble, and what they are, every single time, is simply someone who is terrified and waiting for one person to see it. I see them. I always have. I just needed a whole town, for once, to look.